The moment has come that no angel, no prophet, and no human being could ever have foreseen. The moment when a silent universe suddenly trembles like a living creature about to release its final breath. In a realm beyond every layer of the heavens, Israfil stands motionless, lifting the enormous surah, the trumpet, in his hands, waiting for a single command. With just one call from the Creator, everything humanity has ever known, light, space, life itself, will be torn apart like a fragile curtain caught in a raging storm. Welcome to Prophetic History Explained. No one knows exactly how that moment begins. All that is known is that the first sound is not quite an explosion, but a roar so deep that even the heart seems to sway with it. It rises from Makkah, spreads to Medina, then races across the continents like a crack running along the spine of the universe. London suddenly darkens, and the hands of the Big Ben clock freeze as if time itself has been locked in midair. The glass towers of New York shake like leaves in a hurricane. Tokyo loses all power in an instant, and the most advanced technologies of mankind become useless in a single moment. A chain of stars in the sky goes out one by one, like candles blown out by an invisible hand. The light of the sun fades and then dies completely. The moon splits as if someone has just cleaved it in two with a gigantic sword. Space grows dark, so silent that it feels as if one could hear the echo of destruction itself closing in from every side. There is no more movement. There is no more time. There is no longer any trace of the life that humanity once took pride in. Everything has become an endless graveyard, without tombstones and without names. And in that absolute darkness, only one still remains. Al-Hay, the ever-living, the one whom time can never touch. All the kings, all the empires, all the civilizations that once stood in arrogant glory have dissolved into dust. The universe is so still that no one could say whether a single minute or 1,000 years are passing. Because now time is no longer a flowing river. It has been shattered and swallowed by the silence of the void. It is within that immeasurable emptiness beneath the soil where bones have decayed for hundreds of years that the souls are still waiting in barzakh. Some souls are comforted by peace, by light, and by the promise of salvation. But there are also souls that are bound tight in loneliness, in the torment of the grave, as if the grave itself has become a miniature world of punishment. Different as they are, all of them are waiting for one thing, the moment when the second breath will be blown, carrying life back into existence. Then, after a span of time that no one can measure, Israfil once again raises the surah to his lips. But this time, the sound is not like the collapse of all things. It is like a call that awakens the universe from a long sleep. When the blast resounds, the earth splits open. Dry bones deep beneath the ground begin to move as if drawn toward an invisible center. Bone joins to bone. Every vertebra and every joint is fitted together in perfect order. Flesh begins to form, tendons and muscles stretch into place, and fresh red blood starts to flow. Eyes return to their sockets and open as if seeing the light for the very first time. People spring up from their graves with no clothes, no possessions, no titles, only the bare truth of who they truly are. Their faces are covered in dust, their eyes wild with confusion, unable to understand what is happening. They ask one another, "Who has raised us from our resting place?" But before they can answer, memory crashes over them like a powerful wave. Everything they once heard from the prophets, everything they once read, once watched, once ignored, has now become an irreversible reality. And a terrified cry rises from the crowd. This is the very day that Al-Rahman promised. No one can go back. No one can escape. No one can ask for more time. This is only the opening to the story of the day when the universe is turned upside down and the truth is laid bare. If you want to hear the rest of the story, then subscribe to the channel Prophetic History Explained so that we have more motivation to continue bringing you deeper and more truthful content about the events of the end times. As soon as people rise from their graves with the scent of earth still clinging to them, before they fully grasp the truth that has descended upon them, the angels begin to lead them to a place called mahshar. It is not a familiar land, and it does not belong to any geography that humanity has ever known. It is so vast that no eye can see its end, and so flat that it feels as if someone has swept away every mountain and every ocean with a single motion, leaving behind an immense plain large enough to hold every human being from the time of Adam until the very last of mankind. No one can truly imagine how it feels to be placed in the middle of that endless sea of people where every soul that has ever existed stands in the same place, with not a single corner to turn away and hide. In just an instant, the sheer crowding turns into a kind of invisible pressure that makes every breath feel as heavy as a stone. No one talks. No one dares to stare too long at the person beside them. Every face is a story. Every pair of eyes holds a restrained terror. They know that they are standing at the beginning of a completely new chapter of existence, a chapter where there is no trace of running away or making excuses. In this place, everyone is equal, from kings to beggars, from those who once ruled to the forgotten souls buried in the footnotes of history. They all stand in the same lines with the same anxiety, with the same hollow feeling inside their chests. Then the sun, which once hung in the blue sky at a distance of about 93 million miles or about 150 million kilometers, is brought down so close that people can feel its heat pressing directly against their skin like a burning flame held inches from their faces. There is no shade. There are no clouds. There is no sky as they once knew it. The air thickens, so scorching that every breath feels like a blade driving deep into the lungs. People begin to sweat. At first it is only small drops, then it becomes streams, then whole seas. Each person is drowned in his or her own sweat, and the depth of that sweat reflects exactly the way they lived in the worldly life. Those whose sins are light are only covered up to their ankles. Some stand in it up to their knees, others up to their waists. Some are submerged up to their necks, trying to breathe while frozen in terror. Worst of all are those who can no longer distinguish where the air ends and where the suffocating pool of their own sweat begins. In mahshar, no one can die, even when the pain feels as if the soul is being torn in two. Death was taken away from them the moment the first blast of the sewer sounded. This is not the place of endings. This is the place of judgment. Death would be an escape. But mahshar does not offer an escape to anyone. Time in mahshar does not pass in the way people once knew. There is no day and night to measure. There is no movement of the sun to mark anything. Everything is only the endless stretching of the feeling of being trapped in a colossal sea of humanity, with scorching heat hammering the skin every moment. People begin to feel that the waiting itself is its own punishment. It wears down their endurance. They no longer have the strength to stand upright. They no longer have the courage to wait any longer. Each soul seems to melt under the suffocating weight of its own fear. Then, as this strange time keeps stretching beyond what the mind can bear, the begging begins. Our Lord, please judge us now. Please do not prolong this waiting anymore. We can no longer bear this silence. But these cries are not answered immediately. It is not because Allah does not hear. It is because this waiting is the very lesson that humanity refused to learn in the worldly life. They postponed their prayers. They delayed repentance. They reached out to sin while telling themselves that they would fix it later. And now, when they beg to be judged quickly just to escape this suffocation, time itself becomes a fair reflection of the delays they once imposed on their own obedience. 1,000 years in mahshar can feel like one sleepless night. 2,000 years like a nightmare that stretches on without any way out. 5,000, 10,000, up to 50,000 years, it is a span in which even the strongest souls cry out, begging for an ending. But mahshar is not a place where humans have the right to demand anything. It is only a waiting point where everyone must finally face themselves, with no masks left, no place to turn their faces away, and no excuse left to cling to. And when the cries of billions of souls rise together like a wave of absolute despair, they understand that what lies ahead may be even more terrifying than the waiting. But whatever it is, they cannot avoid it, because mahshar is only the first test, before humanity steps into the phase where truth will be completely exposed. After the waiting in mahshar stretches so long that it feels as if it has drained the very breath from every soul, another kind of silence spreads over that vast human ocean. It is not the silence of exhaustion. It is the silence of fear when everyone realizes that the decisive moment is drawing near. Then the names of individuals begin to be called, not according to lineage or titles or what they once owned, but according to a truth recorded more precisely than any document ever kept in the worldly life. When a name is pronounced, no matter whose it is, the souls around fall silent because they know that this person is about to stand face to face with absolute truth, with nothing left to argue. That person steps forward, trembling with a fear that no worldly strength can conceal. Every eye is turned toward the one walking before Allah. But nobody looks in order to judge. They look because they know their turn will come. In that moment, human beings are very small before the one who created them from nothing. They cannot stand firm as they did in debates during their earthly lives. They cannot speak lies as they once did in the world. Every step feels like pressing their feet down onto their own fear. A book is handed to them. Some receive it in their right hand, and their eyes shine with gratitude as if a great weight they carried all their life has finally been lifted. They look at their book the way someone looks at the result of a long, difficult journey, where every good word and every righteous deed has been carefully honored and recorded. But there are others who receive their book in their left hand, or behind their backs, and their entire body goes weak. They do not want to open it. They do not want to see what they have done. They do not want to face their own selves. But no one has the right to refuse that book because it is a truth that can never be erased. Then the denials begin. One says, "I did not do that." Another says, "I do not remember." Someone else dares to claim, "That day I was deceived, I was forced." But here, words lose their power. A person may lie to the entire world, but cannot lie before the one who has watched every single beat of their heart. And when the denials continue, Allah causes their mouths to be sealed. In the moment their lips fall silent, the terror in their eyes becomes so intense that it seems to pierce through the entire crowd that is watching. Then their hands begin to speak. It is not a human voice, but it is clearer than any word they have ever spoken. The hands speak about the times they signed onto injustice or reached out to what was forbidden. The feet speak about the roads they chose when they went out to sin. The eyes recount what they looked at with deliberate desire. The ears retell the slander and falsehood they once listened to. Even the skin speaks, narrating every action they thought would remain hidden forever. The betrayal of their own limbs is not betrayal at all. They are only telling the truth that the person never had the courage to face. At that point, there is nothing left to say. No apology can erase what has been recorded. No reason, no excuse has any weight. The justice of Allah does not rest on assumptions or on beautiful words or on pity. Every deed, even as small as a speck of dust, whether done in darkness or in broad daylight, has been written down. Among those called forth are people who were once praised highly in the worldly life. One of them fought and died as what people considered a martyr. Another taught and spread knowledge and recited the Quran with a voice so beautiful that many were moved to tears. Another was admired as generous, giving freely without hesitation. But when they stand before Allah, the truth is lit up like a painting suddenly exposed under a harsh light. Their deeds were not truly for Allah. They were for glory, for being called hero, scholar, or generous benefactor. Because they sought praise from people, their reward was already given to them in the worldly life. Here they have nothing left to receive except the judgment that awaits an empty heart. On that day in mahshar, every soul understands that nothing has been overlooked. The whispered secrets, the actions no one saw, even the thoughts that they believed were known only to themselves, all of them are clearly written in the book that has been placed in their hands. No angel adds anything on their own, and no detail is erased. It is perfect justice, without bias and without error. And as each person faces the truth of who they really are, mahshar grows more silent than ever, because they know that the judgment is not the end. It is only the doorway to something greater, where every soul will be taken to the exact place where it truly belongs, whether that is endless bliss or punishment without end. When each life book has been opened and every denial has fallen silent, humanity is led to a place that no words of this world can fully capture. A vast abyss stretches downward without visible bottom, black and seething like the heart of a colossal volcano. Across this chasm, the bridge of sirat is stretched, a thin band of light so slender that it seems a single gust of breath could make it tremble. It is said that sirat is finer than a strand of hair and sharper than a sword, and from a distance it looks like a lone streak of light suspended over a boiling ocean of darkness below. No one is allowed to avoid it. There is no alternate route. Sirat is the only path, the final test before the fate of every soul is sealed. Souls are commanded to move toward the start of the bridge. The light surrounding them suddenly grows alive, as if measuring the very faith they once carried in their hearts during the worldly life. Those who truly held Iman, those who were patient in hardship, who rose in the depths of the night to pray, who kept their promises in their conscience, have a light that shines out in front of them wide and bright, lighting their way. They step onto sirat without trembling, and for them it is as if the bridge becomes a straight, solid road beneath their feet. Every step they take is proof of a faith that life continually tested, but they never abandoned. But not everyone carries that kind of light. The hypocrites, those who wore faith like a cloak to hide their sins, have a light that flickers weakly like a flame about to die. When they step onto sirat, that light suddenly goes out, leaving them in total darkness. They scream to those who still have light, begging to borrow some of it. But the only reply they hear is the call, "Go back and find light for yourselves." Yet there is nowhere to go back to. That world no longer exists. And in the moment that the darkness swallows them completely, they slip and fall, tumbling into the chasm that has been waiting with its mouth wide open. That abyss is not a lifeless darkness. It breathes and burns with rage. It is Jahannam dragged close to mahshar, bound by 70,000 chains, each chain held by 70,000 angels. Every time Jahannam roars, the ground quakes. The fire inside it is not the fire people once knew, but a fire that knows hunger, knows anger, and knows exactly whom it wants to devour. When a soul falls into it, the fall is not silent. Their scream rises back up, blending with the thunder of Jahannam in a horrifying chorus. Beneath sirat are 7 great gates that lead into 7 levels of punishment. Each gate opens for different groups of people, and no one enters the wrong gate because their sins have already determined exactly where they belong. The first gate is for those who had faith but were careless with their sacred responsibilities. They believed with their tongues but not with their actions. They delayed Salah until its time passed and treated the commands that a believer must uphold as if they were light and unimportant. They pass through in terror, knowing that they once had the chance, but did not guard it. The second gate opens like a tearing wind of flame. This is for those who mocked the ayat, who ridiculed the believers, who heard the call toward goodness but treated it as meaningless noise. The fire of this level does not only burn their skin, it burns away the arrogance they once carried. The third gate is quieter but chilling. It receives the selfish, those who turned away when the poor begged for help, who ignored the orphan, who clung to their wealth as if it could never leave them. In this place, their indifference becomes their own punishment. The fourth gate glows red like molten metal. This is where those who loved wealth excessively are taken. They live to possess, to accumulate, to count every coin as if it were a god they worshipped. Their gold becomes their chains, and their silver turns into blades. The fifth gate opens with a terrifying roar, for those who used power to oppress, who used status to crush others. Their titles and the honors they once boasted of are burned away the moment they cross that threshold. The sixth gate churns like a wildfire storm. Here are those who spread war, who caused innocent blood to be spilled, who destroyed peace for their own gain. The seventh gate, the deepest and darkest, is reserved for the hypocrites. They spoke the words of Iman with their tongues, but their hearts were empty. They wore masks all their lives, and now those masks are ripped away layer by layer, exposing the true face they tried so hard to hide. On sirat, every step carries the weight of an entire lifetime. Below, the 7 gates of Jahannam wait for every soul in perfect accordance with its deeds. No one can blame anyone else. No one can trade places. This is where truth becomes the only light, and that light has never been wrong, not even once. When each soul plunges into the abyss beneath sirat, a completely different reality opens before them. Here, the sense of space and time is no longer like anything they have ever experienced. The fire does not just burn, it lives. The wind does not just blow, it claws and tears. The silence is not just silence. It weighs down on the soul like a boulder with no edge to grip. People realize that they have entered a world where everything has been created to reflect what they did, what they thought, and what they nurtured in the deepest parts of their hearts. The first fire they feel is not heat, but the sensation of the heart being squeezed, as if the soul has been placed on a scale where truth is heavier than any physical punishment. Then comes the fire, unlike any earthly flame. It is unimaginably hot, so hot that the moment it touches the skin is burned away, only to be restored moments later so the pain can begin again. This cycle repeats endlessly, as if human endurance has been stretched out without limit so that every sin, no matter how small, can speak its full consequence. Thirst becomes a desperate need. People scream for a single drop of water to soothe their burning throats, but what they receive is not relief. It is boiling liquid, churning in blackened vessels. They lift it to their mouths before they can even cry out. Just a small sip tears through their insides, as if their very guts are being cut apart. They long for death, but death was taken away from them long ago. There is no escape from this suffering. Starving, they are led to a strange tree that grows from the very bottom of the abyss, its fruit shaped like monstrous heads. This is zakum, their only food. Every time they bite into it, the fruit bursts like burning lava, scorching from the mouth down through the stomach. It does not ease their hunger. It tears at their insides. They do not want to eat it, but hunger drives them back to it again and again. Each bite becomes another sentence pronounced upon them. But there is more than fire. In some parts, a sudden wind of terrible cold sweeps through, not the cold of winter, but the cold of Zamharir. It slips into the bones, shattering them from the inside. The victims scream to be returned to the fire because that cold feels even worse. Yet when they are thrown back into the fire, they cry to be taken back to the cold. Between scorching heat and freezing torment, they are spun endlessly like a sin that has no end. There is no comfort, no moment of rest, and no hint of hope in this chain of punishments. Still, all of this physical pain is not the worst part. The most devastating punishment is that they are veiled from Allah. In the worldly life, they were told that the greatest delight of paradise is not the rivers, not the eternal fruits, not the palaces of gold and silver, but the chance to see their Creator. Here in this abyss, they understand that they will never see Him. That darkness, the darkness of total loss, twists the soul in a way that no human language can fully describe. This is the true punishment. The punishment of hearts that rejected the light when they still lived on earth. Every soul in Jahannam is wrapped in regret. They remember every chance they wasted, the mornings they woke up but did not pray, the times they knew something was wrong but refused to stop, the moments they heard a warning but laughed it off, the opportunities to repent that they pushed aside because they thought they still had time. In this abyss, the phrase, "if only," is repeated millions of times. If only they had tried a little harder. If only they had held on to one more prayer. If only they had restrained one hurtful word. If only they had let go of one sinful habit. If only they had believed more, feared more, and loved Allah more. But Jahannam is not a place for fixing anything. It holds no hope, no future, no exit. Everything that needed to be changed had to be changed in the worldly life, where Allah opened the door of Tawbah every day, where every sincere good deed, no matter how small, was recorded, where every prayer had the power to erase the shadows of the past. But they did not take those chances. And now, as their souls hang between fire and cold, hunger and thirst, and the unbearable distance from their Creator, regret does nothing except deepen their pain. Jahannam does not end. It does not grow tired. It does not lessen its intensity. Time here does not flow as it did on earth. A moment can stretch like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years can feel like forever. In that stretching, every soul understands that they are facing not only fire, but the result of choices they once thought were harmless. When they finally realize this, they understand that the punishment of Jahannam is not only the burning of the body, but also the collapse of the spirit, the shattering of hope, and the emptiness of never again seeing the light of Allah. The most important lesson to take from all of this is that the opportunity still exists. The door of Tawbah is still open. The light of Iman can still be lit. The day of truth will come. But right now, we are still living in a world where every good choice can redirect our fate. What you do at this moment, what you choose to change today, the prayer you keep delaying, the apology you have not yet spoken, the kindness you are still hesitant to show, all of these can become the light that carries you over sirat, or they can become the darkness that makes you stumble on its edge. Look deeply into your life and ask yourself, if today were the last day, would I be ready to see my life book open before Allah? If your answer still makes you hesitate, that is not a reason to despair. It is an invitation to begin again, because that beginning is still within your reach. Take the initiative to correct what is wrong, increase what is right. Seek peace by reconnecting with the one who created you. Small actions, repeated with sincerity, can bring about a change far greater than you imagine. When the busyness of life makes it easy to forget our final destination, let the story of the Day of Judgment become a mirror that you use to examine yourself every day. If you want to continue diving deeper into knowledge of the hereafter, into the histories of the prophets, and into the lessons of the Quran and Hadith explained clearly, logically, and truthfully, then join the Prophetic History Explained community. There you will find people who share your goals, who want to learn, and who seek to understand matters that go beyond time. And do not forget to subscribe to the Prophetic History Explained channel to support us, so that we can continue producing valuable videos that bring you deeper insights in the next episodes.